In today's video, we're going all in for the DIY Magazine Makers Challenge. This dresser is getting an extreme makeover, and I'm going to show you how to take a boring piece of furniture and turn it into a luxury item that lists for thousands of dollars online. Let me show you how. Welcome into Lemons to Lemonade Furniture. My name is Kara, and flipping furniture out of our garage in Dallas, Texas has allowed our family to reach financial freedom. Come along with us, and I'll show you how it's done. I searched and searched for a piece of furniture that I could enter into the DIY Magazine Makers Challenge this time around. And I finally found this dresser on Facebook Marketplace for $60. It's in pretty decent shape. It needs some basic fixes, but it was just the shape I was looking for to help me transform it into something awesome. I've been finding a lot of inspiration lately on these really modern looking updated buffets, but the price points on them are a little less than to be desired. So when the Makers Challenge announced that the theme was shiny and metallic furniture, I knew exactly where I was going to start. This dresser was previously well loved, so I'm going to give it a good degreasing with some Simple Green. Simple Green just helps get off all the grease and grime and make sure that your surface is ready to be painted. These drawers were a little sticky, so I left the hardware on. I'm going to go ahead and take the hardware off now that I've got the drawers open, and I'll make sure to clean where I didn't, where the handle pulls were. But I'm not going to use these pulls again, so I'm just going to set them to the side for the time being. We are going with a totally different look on this one. Now that the drawers are removed, I'll make sure that the inside is nice and clean as well. If you watch my channel regularly, you know that down here in my Texas market, it's all about the base. So this one is no exception. Chris and I had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how to recreate some of those fun looks that we saw on that expensive furniture website, but in the end, we finally figured it out. Now that we've got the screws removed from the base, I'm making an even line with tape to follow for my jigsaw. The painter's tape will also help ensure that the particle board stays intact as I cut. To smooth out the rough edges, I'll use my Makita orbital sander with a 180 sanding disc. Every painted project needs a really good scuff sand, so I'm going to use my Surfprep 3x4 Ray sander with a 220 grit sanding pad on this and just scuff up the surface really good and get it ready for paint. Now that I've completely made a mess sanding, I need to wipe it all back with some cold water just to get all the sanding dust off. It's really important before you start painting any paint that you get all your dust and debris off, but it's going to be really, really important, especially since we're going for that shiny, shiny finish, that everything is just smooth and perfect underneath there. Well, I thought I was done in the garage today, but then I realized there's still something sitting on the floor that I completely forgot about. Yep, I did all of that work on the body of the dresser and totally forgot about the drawers sitting behind me. So here we go. Let's start by filling in the holes with some Minwax wood fill. I'll let that sit for about an hour or so, and then I'll come back and do a scuff sand on top of all these drawers. I picked out these cute 4-inch feet for the dresser on Amazon. I'll be sure to link all the products listed below. Full disclosure, I still hadn't decided what color I was going to use on this dresser yet. So I drilled the pilot holes for the feet while I sat and contemplated which direction I wanted to take this in. This dresser is the perfect candidate for painting with the drawers in. Do you see how they're flush up against the body of the dresser? That means that my first coat can go on with the drawers pushed all the way in, and once it dries to the touch, I'll stagger the drawers out a little bit so that I can get all the edges. I'll also run a piece of painter's tape along the inside edges so that there's no overspray. This dresser will definitely need to be primed, so I'm going to try out the new Lily Moon Eclipse bonding primer. It's a heavy stain blocking primer as well as a bonding agent, and it works like an oil base, but it's a water base, so that means it's going to go through my HVLP spray gun really well. I was extremely impressed with the way this primer went on. Usually I have a lot of problems getting a primer to go through my spray gun, and it is just such a mess for me to clean up afterwards. But this one was perfect. It was absolutely effortless, and I will definitely be using this again. After my first coat of Lily Moon Eclipse bonding primer has dried, I'll do a light scuff sand to smooth out any of the bumps. When you're working with a glossy finish, every little imperfection is going to show, so it's really important to sand in between all of the coats. This dresser is going to take a total of 2 coats of primer for full coverage. For today's flip, I'm going to use Sherwin-Williams Emerald Trim Paint in a high gloss finish, and I'm using the color Surf Green. Now, Surf Green is very loud, and we are going with something that's a little bit brighter, a little bit funkier, because this is for a magazine competition. So it's got to pop, it's got to stand out. So this will be a little bit of a departure from my regular, but I'm excited to see what this looks like. Did I mention that you need to sand in between every single coat? My 400 grit sanding block and I became really good friends on this project, but wait till you see the end result. It was so worth it. When you're going for that high gloss finish, you've got to sand between every layer. We purchased some 1/2-inch trim to dress up the front of this dresser and give it that expensive modern look that we're aiming for. Once we had our basic outline mapped out, Chris used our miter saw to make all of our cuts. Once we had all our trim pieces cut out, I used some Krylon 24 karat gold spray paint to give all of these pieces a nice shine. And once our spray paint was dry, it was time to start laying out the design on the top of the dresser. I ended up using the laser level and a piece of tape to make sure that I stayed in a straight line before I started to glue my pieces on with some Tight Bond wood glue. Once the first piece of trim was in place, our vision really started to take shape. We laid out the other pieces of trim and just followed the same steps with cutting with our miter saw, spray painting the pieces, and then gluing everything back in place once they were dry. The trim pieces dried overnight, and then it was time to cut the openings along the drawer fronts. This would have been so much easier if we could have used our multi-tool, but it wasn't working correctly, so we had to switch over to the hand saw. I made some finishing touches to the little pieces of trim before we put on this dresser's brand new shoes. And just in case you forgot, here's the original not so fancy dresser before she got her extreme makeover. I am loving this high gloss shine with all the mixed metals looks. I love the new gold feet. They give this dresser a really modern feel, and I think we are so close to those high-end designs that inspired this makeover. Do you guys think this is magazine worthy for the DIY magazine challenge? Let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely keep you posted on how we end up. Thanks for tuning in today, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Lemons to Lemonade Furniture.